Now, let's talk about the NBA, which has long been the wokest league in the world. In fact, it has prided itself on being the wokest among the woke. But like most corporate virtue signalers, they have been shown to be absolute unprincipled cowards. This is an organisation that has been vocal on every political and social issue, from Trump's travel ban to gender-neutral toilets. But when one of their own expressed support for the Hong Kong protesters, they went into a meltdown. Suddenly, players and coaches who have been very vocal in the age of Trump had nothing to say. Let's hear from Stephen Curry.
Gravity to it, and there's going to be some things that need to be sorted out, but I just don't know enough about Chinese history and that, and how that's influenced, modern society today, and that interaction to speak on it. So that's just where we're at.
He can't say anything. He doesn't know anything about China's history suddenly. Apparently there's no newspapers in the Curry household. And here is head coach of the Golden State Warriors, Steve Kerr, who is never shy about expressing his political opinions.
It's a really bizarre international story, and a lot of us don't know what to make of it. So it's something I'm reading about, and just like everybody is, but I'm not going to comment further.
Gutless. It's easy having a go at Trump when there are no consequences, but when it's China, they're all scared because China will ban you. And the NBA's submission to China has even seen paying fans holding small pro-Hong Kong signs ejected from the game. Have a look at this.
What is political about asking people to understand what a Uyghur is? Would it be helpful if I explained what a Uyghur is? They're a Muslim minority population in China. It's been put in concentration camps by the Chinese government.
That's a political statement.
So you all are saying you don't want to take a side about concentration camps for Chinese.
Okay, I'm not going back and forth with you. Consult you specifically. I'm not wrong.
If we're not allowed to hold my Google Uyghur sign, then you can take it.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Thank you. Enjoy the game. Good luck. Enjoy the game.
But what was the reasoning? What's the reason?
So
I understand you're doing your job, sir. Totally.
Just Capital One Arena. We understand. We respect your freedom of speech. Mm-hmm. We are just personally we don't have any stance on it, and so we're just asking no any signage related to that being in here tonight.
I mean, that is shameful. That last clip, they were ejecting those blokes whilst the national anthem was playing. I mean, have they listened to the words of the American national anthem before they do that? Instead of exporting freedom, the West is importing China's censorship. But while any criticism of China is banned, Free Beacon reports today that the NBA franchise, the Portland Trail Blazers, has announced that they have severed ties with a company that does business with Israel, following pressure from activists tied to the BDS movement. The NBA really does epitomise everything that is wrong with the toxic virtue signalling woke left. All that empty posturing doesn't hide what weak, unprincipled fools they are. Evan, I just can't believe the way the NBA has behaved this week. It really is quite shameful. First, the fact that one mild statement from an official about supporting Hong Kong, how that was treated, and then after that, the submission to China, throwing their own paying fans out of the stadium. I just can't understand how they can justify this when they present themselves as a political, socially progressive organisation.
Yeah, it's an absolute disgrace, and it proves that money is worth more than virtue. The NBA-China relationship is worth about $4 billion to the NBA. It has something like 800 million fans in the US, which is over double of the US population. And we saw an example of the NBA moving an entire game in Charlottesville because of the state's attitude towards gender-neutral bathrooms. This is utter cowardice.
This is
from the NBA.
Your example there, Caroline, that is something that is one of the many things about this week that has shocked me with the NBA is that this is an organisation that is so political and so socially progressive that they said we cannot abide by, was it North Carolina's policy on gender-neutral toilets? It is transphobic. We can't deal with it. We are not going to play a game there. And yet they turn a blind eye to China's enormous human rights abuses. In fact, even just holding a little sign with Hong Kong on it will see you thrown out of a game.
Well, that's it, Rita. And look, in the end, this here really turns out to be interest-informing principles and not the other way around. And Evan was exactly right. There is so much Chinese money here that there's curbing the principles of the NBA, whatever they are exactly, and so they're falling over themselves for China. And you know, the NBA is not the only example. We are seeing this with airlines. We are seeing this with luxury labels. You know, they are apologising to China for listing Hong Kong and Taiwan as separate countries in their list of stores.
You're right. One of the luxury brands just did that recently, didn't they? Where it was again,
and then they fall over themselves to apologise.
It is, and I would almost have some respect for this if they were just businesses and their only interest was to make money and increase shareholder value. But when there are organisations who are overtly political, but they crumble when they face with the might of China, then you've got to call out the hypocrisy. Now, the NBA could learn a thing or two from South Park creators Trey Parker and Matt Stone. South Park did an episode where they mocked Hollywood for shaping its content to please the Chinese government. What did China do? Well, they responded by banning South Park. So this was the response from the South Park creators. They said, like the NBA, we welcome the Chinese censors into our homes and into our hearts. We too love money more than freedom. See, he doesn't look like Winnie the Pooh at all. Trey Parker and Matt Stone, the creators of the comedy show, their official apology is hilarious. And Caroline, I think sometimes that's the best response, just to mock the totalitarian tendencies of China and those who submit to it.
Absolutely. And when you look at countries that really do value freedom, that is the bird flip of the week, Rita. You know, that there is a South Park creator saying, sorry, we're not playing by your rules because this is the way we play by our rules in our country. Sorry.